Welcome into Chickies and Pete's in South Philly. We've got Flyers hockey this afternoon. Welcome into Snow The Goalie. Bundy is here. Ant is here. Welcome in. Flyers coming off of a big win in the Big Apple. Matvei Michkov, 2 goals. We'll talk about that today. Of course, the Flyers are only, roughly 2 hours away from puck drop over at Xfinity Mobile Arena against
two and a half.
2.5.
Your math is terrible.
Well, it's 2 hours until we start the Press Row show.
That's fair.
That's what counts to me.
Yes.
So 2.5 hours from puck drop as the Flyers play host to the Boston Bruins. We'll get into that as well. Plus, who do the Flyers need to see something out of over the next 20-odd games as they go down the final stretch of the season? And we are now less than a week away from the NHL Trade Deadline, and so we'll dive into who could potentially be on the block, who could be on the move, or will the Flyers stand pat at the deadline? If you're watching us live over on YouTube, Facebook, and X, you can jump into the comments section. We'll have the comments up on the screen here and get in on the conversation. Gents, how are we doing today?
Good.
Doing great. Look at you going short sleeves today, by the way.
Yeah?
The weather is unbelievable today.
Yeah.
And it's going to get cold for the next couple days, and then I saw that we're going into the 60s and possibly 70s next week.
Beautiful. Put our shorts on again.
Spring.
Yes.
Spring
That's
is
the first
here.
hint of spring. Yeah.
Holy smokes. We're the last day of February, and we're starting to feel like spring. That's a good thing. So I'm in a good mood for sure. This is an interesting game today, Bundy. When you look at things, I know that most fans and even us, we recognize that any hope for the Flyers to make the playoffs is an incredible long shot at this point. That said, they're in that locker room. They're still looking at this and saying, this is a team that we're chasing, and if we win this game in regulation today, we kind of feel like we still have a shot.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how they play. I think you're going to see them continue to play more of a defensive style, more of a lockdown. I think we're in the time of year now where we're going to get lower scoring games on the regular.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. Wouldn't surprise me if it had a little bit of juice to it as well on the ice.
Yeah, afternoon game today. I know Boston coming off a 4-2 win over Columbus in their last game out, I believe. So they're and they've had a good season. So I used to love the old rivalry with the Flyers and the Bruins. There used to be something a long time ago. There was a lot of venom to every game. There were spirited hockey games.
Yep.
And I think that's what everybody's hoping for. You get down there today. Boston's a playoff team right now, and the Flyers, as you said, Anthony, are chasing them. So it'll be important to see if they can get 2 points. But the real key is, and you mentioned it, you can't go to overtime.
Correct.
You got to get regulation.
Got to be in regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's why you look at it, the odds are pretty long for it to happen. But you can't tell players that, and the players are going to try, and so it's going to be an interesting game from that perspective. Looking back, Russ, I know you mentioned it already, but coming off of the first 2 games back, the Washington game was a little bit of a disappointment, right? Yep. Wednesday night. I actually thought that they played a decent game Wednesday night. They just couldn't score. They had opportunities. They couldn't cash it in. And then Thursday, the nice comeback against a bad Rangers team. Let's be honest,
A dreadful, woeful, disgraceful
bad
Rangers team.
Yeah, really bad.
But it was a good comeback for them and to win it in overtime. So there were some positives that you kind of took out of that, and the first positive, of course, is the guy that I know you mentioned already.
Yeah, I mean, Michkov.
Matvei Michkov.
Michkov had a 2-goal game. One of the things that we had kind of, I think, talked about on Wednesday, and certainly is going to be a thing going forward, is post 4 Nations last year, he was a point per game guy. I think it was actually over, right? It was 29 points in 27 games, something like that.
Yeah.
So he took that break last year and then came back with a renewed sense of spirit. Maybe it's getting your body right. 2 goals in that game against the Rangers. First one comes on the power play, and this has been a pretty dreadful power play for much of the year. It's been a dreadful power play for years. Mm-hmm. He gets in close to the net. He's on the right side. He buries it. And then in overtime, he's out there because he took a penalty at the very end of regulation, right? Yeah. And he ends up on the ice. It's not him just jumping out of the box on a the way that he would kind of cheat, the way that Tortorella said that he used to like to serve the penalties, right? So he could be out there by himself. Makes a really smart play, makes a powerful move, and comes down the left side and beats Shesterkin clean 5-hole. You got to take some positive away from that.
Absolutely, you do. I mean, let's not sugarcoat what the Ranger situation was. I mean, they had their power play on the ice the entire period. They had no defenseman back. You had JT Miller was the guy that he blew past, and he was
out there
he was cooked.
He was out there for like a minute and a half.
He was
done.
Completely gassed. So it's you say made a power move. I mean, you could have made that power move.
I could not have.
Yeah,
no.
right.
You could have.
Let's not be crazy.
You could have made that power move. But where I want to really give him credit is the shot, right? Because you're coming down the left wing. You're going up against Shesterkin. He held the puck long enough to make Shesterkin make a physical move first. And that opened up the 5-hole for him to slide it through. And to me, that was the smart play because he could have gotten antsy, right? He could have tried to shoot the puck sooner. He could have tried to do some kind of fancy move and maybe not been able to get the puck up over Shesterkin. But he timed it just right and was able to make the right move and get the goal. And that, to me, that was the more impressive play on that thing, not blowing past JT Miller, but really the shot that he took.
Great shot, yeah. And I think Shesterkin wasn't ready for it. You're talking about the overtime goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he made such a quick play, and then he got that step on Miller. I mean, Miller was done. He was out there the whole time. And, I mean, if you ever talked off a guy who looked hungover in a game, that looked like a guy who was hungover from winning an Olympic gold. I mean, it really did. It just breathed hungover.
Yeah.
I'm JT Miller. I just won the gold.
Yeah.
And I've got a guy who's not the greatest fleet of feet in the world, just absolutely lasered by him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice goal. And Michkov, he's got to get around the net. Even the play where he took the penalty going into the overtime.
Yeah.
I like that play.
Yeah.
I like his thought process there of driving the net hard, making a play to the net. Unfortunately, fell into Shesterkin and it was a penalty call. But I liked this game the other day. We talk about players coming down the stretch. I mean, I think it's already been said. He's the most important player to find out exactly what he's got in these last 24 games. 25 games, whatever it is. I think it's 24 now. So, but for me, that's the guy you want to keep an eye on. And, whether or not last year he got a point a game, maybe it's, I don't know if it's because everything got ramped down when the Flyers were out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Got more opportunities in situations that he wouldn't have played normally. That's a tougher look if you go a full year browse. If you see, you put him in these situations in November, he's still developing, still learning, still getting ahead of himself. But I think right now, though, you're going to be able to find spots to put him in those situations that you didn't put him in earlier in the year.
And that's my thing for today, for this game against Boston, to me, it's all about the follow-up. That is a guy who, that shot in overtime, that's a decisive shot.
Yeah.
Go 5-hole on Shesterkin, right? That is a decisive play by a guy who, prior to the break, had probably not been feeling the greatest about his game. Now it's kind of on the coaching staff, at least in my mind, to make sure you're putting him in advantageous positions. Get him to ride that wave of confidence, right? Because if you are to try to win games here, if you are to try to make that run, as unlikely as it probably is to try to make a playoff push, he's got to be the one that I think is a big part of how you get there. He's going to have to be probably your top goal scorer in order to get there. So I now look to, Tocchet said at postgame, and you can speak to this, said, he probably has gotten himself more opportunities going forward for overtime, and said that it was something they had kind of talked about over the break. And he said he was skating better. So now, it's kind of on Tocchet.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the reason Tocchet brings that up is that, they looked at it and said, hey, we what we've been doing in that overtime hasn't been working. So we got to try something different.
Yeah.
And whatever that something different is, it is.
Go to the guy who had multiple overtime winners last year.
Yeah. But I mean, why that they don't go to him in overtime. We've already been through that. But now you're kind of sitting there saying, well, if he makes a mistake now, it's not going to be any worse than what it's been.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I guess that's the rationale. We don't want him to make those mistakes. We don't want him turning over the puck or holding onto the puck too long.
They've got plenty of guys who are capable of doing
that.
But
the point is that that's what I'm saying. It's gotten to the point where it doesn't matter if it's him that's doing that or another player that makes that mistake. It doesn't ultimately matter in that space. So that's why you may see him. I don't think all of a sudden you're going to start to see Michkov get 3 out of the 5 minutes in overtime either.
No, probably not.
But I do think you might see him get an extra shift or so in an overtime period if it gets to that point.
I think the question really does become, does Tocchet continue to go with just say this game goes to overtime today?
Yeah.
Are we looking at a scenario where Michkov gets in there in the final minute of the overtime? Or will Tocchet look to say all right, cool, prove it. Prove that you do belong to be one of the first guys out there.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. I think you might see him get an extra shift earlier.
Okay.
I still think that they like the fact of him getting out there towards the end of an overtime period again, because the way the opposing teams are going, you're usually getting in that final minute the third time through of that first group, right? And so getting Michkov out there against them with fresher legs, you feel like you're giving yourself an advantage in that final minute. I just think that you might see him go sooner now. You might get another shift earlier in the overtime, as well as that shift in the final minute.
I like the idea of going for the kill early in the overtime.
Well,
That's just me.
Of course you do.
I
mean, everybody does. I get it. But when you say go for the kill, I mean, you act like this guy's going to go out there and just be an automatic.
I'm just saying, I'd rather see you send probably your top potential goal scorer go out there early in the overtime, get possession, and get the job done.
He's not your top goal scorer.
I think he is the guy who has the top goal scoring potential on the team by far.
Yeah, I mean, the potential's there. He did it the other day, but he hasn't been the guy that's been doing it all year. He's got 15 goals on the season. So,
right. Yeah.
So I think they're going to ride the hot hand. And really, like, when you see the 3-on-3, it is about speed and pace.
And possession.
And possession. And, and I think the possession part's been fine for him lately.
Yeah.
But the speed thing is still an issue. Yeah. It absolutely is, especially when you get to 3-on-3.
It's what it comes down to, ultimately. But I mean, I think you're going to see more opportunities for him. I'm not trying to take anything away. I think these last two games, you said you want to see how things build. I think he's built the last two games. I think that the game against Washington, I thought he had a good game against Washington. He had a secondary assist on the one goal, but it was a nice play. And I thought that line was actually decent, had some opportunities. Logan Thompson makes a nice save on Michkov in that game. He doesn't actually score otherwise, but I thought he had a decent game. And then, of course, he goes out, gets 2 goals against the Rangers. Could have had a hat trick. Shesterkin made that one save on him on that cross-ice pass from Bobby. I think it was Bobby Brink that made the pass, right?
Yep.
Really great play. So we could have had a hat trick in that game. So that built off of Wednesday's game. So you want to see there be building. There are still mistakes happening. And I know everybody wants to say, why don't point out the mistakes when he has a good game. Well, that's fine. We cannot point out the mistakes, and I'm not going to sit here and get into them specifically, but you got to understand that some of them are chronic and they need to be addressed internally. Maybe we don't talk about them, and maybe we don't make a big deal out of them. But they do. You still have to recognize that internally the team has to acknowledge.
Well, of course,
right? And so those things have to be addressed. So, but on the whole, I thought he's played really well the last 2 games.
Yeah,
really did.
Yeah, and you want to see him take another step today to have another good game today. That's where you want to see the building part of it, And I do. I think he had a good game against the Capitals. Just failed to score in that one cross-ice pass where he just missed that one-timer, and had a good game against the Rangers the other day. They still make some mistakes defensively.
Yeah.
That will have to improve over time, but I think for the most part, I love the way he played the game the other day.
Yeah. And he's very engaged.
I think it's also one of the things, just really quick, I think it's also one of the things is you have to level set for a guy of his age. I think so often we have exponentially lower expectations on a guy who is of that age, especially if they're not viewed as a top skill player, a top end player.
Yeah.
You say, all right, mistakes are going to happen. If a Bobby Brink had made a mistake, all right, if a Noah Cates makes a mistake. And in the case of Michkov, I feel like there is a higher level of expectation. And then I do think it is kind of also fair to say, all right, just based on age and based on the fact that it's his second year in North America, he's got to make mistakes. You just have to be willing to, on the coaching side of things, you have to be willing to accept those mistakes. And on the player side, you have to be willing to take the criticism and learn from it.
Sure. And I think he is willing to take the criticism and learn from it. The thing that I was most interested in watching the game on the national broadcast, the ESPN broadcast on Wednesday night or Thursday night, was that because of all the discourse about Michkov, ESPN leaned into it a little bit, and there was a lot of conversation about it, but there was also a lot of camera shots of him, right? You got to see a lot of Michkov on the bench, on the ice, whatever. They were really following him around. And so and what I was going to say was, before you made your last point, he's very engaged.
Yeah.
You see him on the bench looking at the iPad and talking through stuff with other guys on the bench, right? You see him talking with teammates on the ice and really kind of devising what they're going to do out there. And the thing that I thought was the most impressive is after he scores the game-winning goal, everybody gives him the high fives and the hugs and platitudes and all that. There was a moment that the cameras caught of him with Travis Konechny.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw it.
Yep.
Right? Yep, I did.
Where Konechny goes up to him and kind of grabs him by the back of the head and has a really good conversation with him, a little rah-rah kind of leadership type of move, and you can see the look on Michkov's face, right? Like, he appreciated it. It was a really good thing. It was a connection, because there's a lot of thought, a lot of conversation out there that maybe the players don't particularly like him as much. But when you see that, and that's caught on camera, and that's in the raw emotion of the game, that tells you that there is a bond there, right? That there's something there. And that's why the Flyers are bullish about this, and that they're not, that they're not going to just shove him aside or mistreat him in that regard. I think that you're seeing good on Konechny, but really I was more impressed by the way Michkov responded to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember back to earlier in the season, there was a goal that he had scored. It might have been in an overtime, or it was an end of regulation goal or something, and people were like, "Oh, look, it doesn't look like anybody's rushing over to give the to recognize the guy." Listen, I think that obviously these guys are smart enough to realize, again, if they're going to have success down the line, like, he's got to be a big part of it.
Yeah, right? He has to.
And
has
to. And so here's the it's not even a pushback. It's if you want to live in the world where he messed up going into the season, acknowledged it, cool. Yeah. Teammates might have been frustrated with him. He's not performing. They maybe are frustrated. They're holding that. You go away for a little bit with this break, this Olympic break. He works hard. He comes back. He looks significantly better. Tocchet said he's skating better. Now he's performing. Maybe that was kind of like on his end, it's like a mea culpa. And then on the team side, maybe his teammates look at him and go, all right, like, we're gonna give him another chance.
Yeah, reset. It's a reset.
Yeah, it's a reset.
It's a total reset.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's absolutely a good thing. And hopefully for them, that continues to blossom in that regard.
Yeah.
Because then that would be a good thing. I wrote a story yesterday, guys. Tell me if you think I'm crazy on this. My theory is that one day, now I'm not saying when in the future, but one day in the future, we're going to look back at the discourse around Matvei Michkov this year, all the crazy conversation about him and the Flyers and how they're handling him and everything else, and we're just going to laugh at it.
That's the hope.
That's what I believe.
Yeah, okay.
I believe we will one day look back at this year and just kind of laugh it off. Like, do you remember all that craziness that we were going through back in 25, 26? Like, how crazy that was? Like, I believe that that's going to be the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I liked some of the times he goes, but I want to see it on a consistent level
and I'm not
over
saying,
a period of time.
I'm not saying he even has to be a superstar for us to laugh at it. What I mean is he's going to be a consistent contributor to this team. He's going to be a regular. He's going to be, part of the core, playing a decent brand of hockey.
Right.
Once he's learned the game and he's a veteran player. Even if he's not a superstar, I think we're going to look back at it and say, yeah, that was kind of crazy that year. Like, what was everybody getting all worked up about? Like, I really do. Like, that's what I honestly believe. Regardless of the only way I'm wrong is if he turns out to be a disaster or he gets moved to another team and he becomes a success somewhere else.
That's the much bigger concern.
Yeah, but I don't see that.
Well,
I don't see that happening.
Anthony's got his positive in him today. I like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm with you. And that's my hope for him too.
Yeah.
That's that we do look back and laugh at this. That's what I hope.
Here's actually the best version of this, right? Is 3 years from now, they've added a couple more pieces, hopefully higher end pieces. Great. And they are a perennial playoff team, and it feels like they're a piece away from making a cup run, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And
we look back on this, and maybe the coach is here, right? Maybe he's still in year like 4 or 5 or whatever the deal. And we say, yeah, it's pretty crazy how you you kind of seem like a buffoon with some of your choices there, but it did end up working out, and everyone can laugh together if you want to have that part of it. The other version of it is, if we're looking at this years from now and it doesn't work out with Tocchet and Michkov reaches superstar status or close to it, then you're like, well, I don't know if the fans would look back on it and laugh. I think it'd be like, well, see, we feel vindicated. I don't know.
Yeah.
The ultimate thing is you want to make sure that however bad things got at one point this year, you want to make sure that doesn't have a lasting effect on the player. You don't want the player in all of this to feel as though he was abandoned by the organization, because that's where those seeds start getting planted now. And then by the time, not the next contract comes up, not the time that his ELC is up, but like when it really is time for that big money offer, you got to make sure that like he feels 100% bought in here as well. So
you want him to feel as secure as Austin Matthews feels in Toronto. That's what you want for the guy ultimately, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially these days.
He will be gone.
He's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Gone.
If I were him, I'm already in my head. If I read that article by that dude the other day, I'd be like, forget
In
it.
the
Dude.
Toronto
I'm
Star?
Out of here. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why
Wow.
would you stick around and read an article like that because you had a party after winning the gold medal?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think if you're Austin Matthews,
That's
you're
unbelievable.
looking at greener pastures. I think if you're a Brady Tkachuk, you're probably also kind of in the
Absolutely.
same mindset there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll be something to see.
Hey, don't forget, guys. I got criticized for saying you don't know who the players are, but eventually, star quality players become available.
Yeah.
I could see these two being those star quality players becoming available a lot sooner than.
We'll
I don't
see.
think it'll be 2 years.
No, I
No,
don't
I
think
don't
it'll be
think
2
so.
years.
No way.
I don't think
agree.
it'll be 2 years for either
Can
one
you
of them.
can you imagine that?
Just saying.
The insanity.
Yeah.
If one of the, I will say this. I had some question marks around Austin Matthews. I think a lot of us did. This just goes back to the Olympics. I think there were questions around Austin
Well,
Matthews.
it had been forever.
I think there were questions around Connor Hellebuck if he could be a big game guy.
Yeah.
Hellebuck ultimately delivers the gold medal. I mean, that was so much on him. The big game, is he, can he get it done? That entire narrative is gone. Austin Matthews, now you look at it and you go, all right, like in the gold medal game, like he didn't rack up points, but he did a hell of a job defensively.
It was a really good defense.
And those players wanted him to be the captain. And so it tells you something about the way that his teammates perceive him versus how a lot of fans and media might perceive him. And so now all of a sudden it's like, all right, you go back to Toronto after you've led your team as the captain to the gold medal. And if that Toronto team can't get it done, and make no mistake, they will not get it done, I think it's more of a systemic problem with the Maple Leafs than it is on the player.
Yeah. For sure. Hey, Russ, why don't you tell everybody where we're at today?
I'm looking around. I believe we are at Chickie's and Pete's in South Philly. We're just minutes down the road from the Xfinity Mobile Arena where the Flyers are going to be dropping the puck against the Boston Bruins at 3 o'clock today.
A lot of orange and black in here
A
already.
lot of orange and black.
It's not one of those 325 puck drops today, is it?
No, because it is part of a doubleheader.
right.
So
okay.
it might be like a 3:10, 3:15.
Right. Okay.
One of those. Yeah.
Same thing.
Bundy, if we're lucky, it'll be a 3.5 hour game. You know how much we love.
The game the other night was another almost 3 hour game.
It was
in New
unbelievable how
York,
long
yeah.
that game was in New York.
But anyway, we're at Chickies and Pete's, and I'll tell you what, if you can't make it down to the game, there is no better place to watch a Flyers game than at Chickies and Pete's. There are 17 locations in the greater Philadelphia area. You come on down. You can talk shop with us every Wednesday night. We typically do in Snow the Goalie Radio at one of the many locations in the greater Philadelphia area. And you come out and you have whatever you want to eat. There's an expansive menu today. Bundy and I, we dove into the cold shrimp, had to do it.
Yeah.
Bundy came back with the clam chowder, the
Yeah.
pizza. I got the grilled chicken sandwich. And you know what? Anthony was the last one here. I know that's going to surprise some people, but Anthony, despite living the closest to this location, was the last one here. And so we ordered on his behalf, and he got fish tacos. Bundy, do you remember what he said when we said, hey, we ordered for you?
Oh, I wasn't going to eat, he said.
Yeah.
Because I had a late breakfast today.
Not a thank you. Not a thank you.
I thanked you guys. I
That's
did.
good. You can eat it. It's good.
All right.
Did you
Good
eat?
stuff.
Did you down those tacos?
I
there,
did
didn't
eat
you?
them.
Yeah, so
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah. No
He
fries
scarfed
today.
them down. I don't even think he breathed. I think he just like scarfed those down.
Yeah,
So
they were good.
that gives you a good idea of how good the food here is at Chickies and Pete's. And so come on out, like we said, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Billy
for
from South
Snow-
Philly is
what?
still housing away at the pizza over there.
I saw he had half a pizza sitting in front of him, the half that Bundy didn't eat. He's just crust and all. You think he's like a little kid saying, I don't want the crust. No. Billy from South Philly. He's a crust aficionado.
Yes,
So
he is.
anyway, come on out to Chickies and Pete's. Again, the best place you can possibly be to watch a game. TVs everywhere. Expansive menu. Great time. Great atmosphere. Come on out.
Yeah, and we got to go into our player of the week, and I think we already know who the player of the week's going to be, but I do want to give an opportunity to identify a couple other players that I think are in the running, but I think we'll all agree on who the player of the week is. But the player of the week is brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. I think we're all going to be in agreement that it's Michkov, right? Probably this week.
Did you guys do one on Wednesday night?
We did.
We did, but we did it based on the Olympics.
Okay.
Because there was no hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
No Flyers game.
So we gave it to Hellebuck.
So we gave it to Hellebuck.
Okay.
On Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's the right call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think,
Bundy, did you have somebody else you wanted to go with for the player of the week today?
No, I'd go with Michkov
Michkov?
for his game the other night in Washington.
Yeah. Are you good with that?
I'd go with Michkov, but I do want to give a shout out to Sam Erison.
He was one of the guys that I was going to talk about. Yeah.
I mean, a guy who had a really rocky. I mean, it wasn't a great start against the Rangers.
Well, it was a great first 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Then he gave up the worst goal of the year.
Yes.
and then he was really good again thereafter.
Yeah. And I think it would have been really easy for that to kind of fall apart. And typically when it rains, it pours with him.
Yeah.
But he did lock back in, and
that was
the job done.
That was the thing I wanted to talk about how he did lock back in after giving up. Really, and Bundy, worst goal of the year.
Worst goal of the year, yeah.
I mean, that is, as he's given up some bad goals this year. That one was by far the worst goal I've seen.
You know who did that the night before?
Who's that?
Vasilevsky in Tampa on a shot by Matthew Nyes. Exact same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah, exact same thing.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. It does happen. But, where it's snowballed on him in the past, he bounced back, and he was really good, especially on that power play in overtime. The 4-on-3 before Michkov scores the goal.
Yeah.
Ersson was really good.
Yeah. He was good in that game against the Rangers.
Yeah.
He played really well.
He played really well. So Ersson was one of my guys. And then I think Vladar was out of his mind good against Washington.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Like out of
two goals against. Yeah, it was really
good. But
I
mean, even the second goal, that's a bad change.
Yeah.
And then it deflects off of Sanheim and goes up over his shoulder. Goalie can't do anything about that, right?
Yeah.
So I thought Vladar was going to try. I thought that was going to be a game that he was going to steal for them, the way he was playing. So I really like that. And Noah Cates, I thought, with 2 games, for a guy who we've been critical of late because he didn't have as great a run since Forster's injury. Mm-hmm. I think the last 2 games he's played really well.
Yeah,
that whole line, honestly, with Michkov and Brink, I think the 3 of them combined have played really well. But Noah Cates has stood out. He scored the 1 goal against Washington. He had an assist in the game against the Rangers. I think that he had a really good couple of games as well.
He did have a couple of good games, but I think just because of the season he's had and where he's been to where he is now, the games he played, I have to go with Michkov.
Oh, I agree. I'm with you 100%. I'm on Michkov. I think it was a no-brainer slam dunk, but I didn't want it to just be, all right, we're naming it Matvei Michkov, move on. Right? I wanted to have a segment here to talk about. So there were some runner-ups that I just wanted to kind of bring to the attention. So, by the way, this is the first time Matvei Michkov, I believe, has won the Payroll Service Solutions Flyers Player of the Week, brought to you once again by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions caters to your small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I really didn't feel comfortable picking Michkov to this point in the season, but he's skating better now. And so I feel like I can pick him for the player of the week.
You just like to twist that knife, don't you? You just love to turn it.
I'm just the guy who talks in the microphone.
Turn it a little bit harder, a little bit quicker. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. It's fantastic. We should talk about Risto because there's a lot of. We've talked about it on Wednesday, but there's even more that has kind of surfaced since.
The team that they're playing today
is interesting.
There was a report out there that Boston could be interested in Erasmus Ristolainen.
They could. I think Montreal's the team. Dallas. Yeah, Montreal.
Dallas actually makes a ton of sense.
Dallas makes a big time.
He would
he
would fit them like a glove.
Yeah, it does. I think Montreal though is the one that you might be able to get the most out of. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, well, I don't know his specifics. Like I can't.
You actually can get a warm body.
I think you can get a similar deal that you got from Scott Lawton.
So a first and a prospect.
Yes.
Really?
I do.
Wow. I'd be surprised, only because of his injury history and that would be the one. If I'm the other team's GM, that'd be my only concern.
I think the Olympics.
Look what
the
Brandon
Olympics
Carlo got last year.
But he was way more heralded than Ristolainen was.
Yeah.
Carlo was supposed to be a stud in Boston, and then they moved him, and Toronto's probably thinking, "Oh my God, we got a chance to get Carlo." They gave up a ton to get him.
Yeah, one in Fraser Minton.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Fraser Minton, who the Flyers were very interested in as well.
Yeah.
So it is interesting though, and like Bundy, I think you're right about the injury stuff. The way that Risto played in the Olympics, though, it's always funny to me. Like hockey executives are so fickle. And like you could absolutely present to them, Risto, back-to-back years, close to the trade deadline, has been hurt and unavailable for trade. Like, you're right. In theory, if you're an executive, you should be like, I'm not going to give up a lot for that. And there's only another year remaining on the contract. Like, do you really want to deal that much? And at the same time, because of how he played on the biggest stage at the Olympics, now all of a sudden you're like, all right, conceptually, we've never gotten to see playoff Risto, but you got to see Olympic Risto, and it looked pretty damn good.
Is there a scenario where he stays?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think that there is a scenario where, like, I think Briere has basically told teams it has to be at least this or we're not moving it.
Right.
Right. And so I think that that's it, because you still have another year where you can trade that Rasmus Ristolainen.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you still have time. You still gives you a little bit more time to get, Oliver Bonk still playing in the minors. Don't have to rush him up to the NHL to be the replacement for Risto. Like, I think that that's kind of the way you look at it. And so you could hold on to him if you don't get the price that you want. But I look at it and say exactly what Russ has just said. He's been injured. He has a propensity to get injured. And he just played an excellent, excellent tournament in the Olympics, which is the closest thing that you can say to what the Stanley Cup playoffs are going to be like.
Yep.
And when you saw the way he played and how he handled those games against the best players in the world, and go, oh yeah, that's a guy I want on my blue line. His
stock will never be higher.
His value is never going to be higher than it is right now.
Yep.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So that, to me, that's why you take whatever the best offer is. And I think you can get that. I think you can get that similar thing to what you got for Lawton or what Boston got for Carlo. Like, I think you can take that and look at it and say, that's what we can get for Rasmus Ristolainen.
I'll also point out that, like, if you believe what Danny and Jonesy have said about having the longer vision in mind, they are cognizant this is not a very likely playoff team. This has, two clear benefits. One, you're going to potentially get back a first, maybe a prospect. You get some kind of value. It also makes your team worse. It does. It makes this blue line worse. And again, we always talk about, you can't tell players to go out and lose. Sure. You can't tell coaches to go out and lose. Sure. You take Aristo out of the lineup, you're worse. You can send a young guy in there to fill that hole, but the byproduct of it is you probably lose some games. And, like, if you're being realistic about it, Danny and Jonesy are, they're aware. Losing games gets you a better chance of getting a better player that could hopefully help you long term.
Yeah, for sure.
So it actually kind of it helps you on multiple fronts if you can move him. If you hang on him into the offseason, I'm not sure that, like, a draft day trade works. And then you're talking about a trade in the season. We always talk about how it doesn't really happen in the fall.
The one thing about the offseason is you have a lot more teams interested than you do right now.
In the offseason.
Yeah. That's the one advantage.
Yeah.
And
I think that there is something
but
to be
I think
said
you
for
can
the
take, I think
teams,
you can take advantage of the desperation of teams
correct.
right now.
If the teams that believe they are buyers, the teams that believe they want to, that they think, like, especially in the Eastern Conference, I think the Eastern Conference is largely so wide open that you could probably use a team's desperation.
I wouldn't say it's that wide open.
I think it's like somewhat open.
The Tampa, Carolina are head and shoulders, and then Florida's, if they get in, right?
Florida's not getting in.
I don't think they're going to get in, but if they get in and they're healthy, they could be a problem. But otherwise, it's two teams.
It's two teams,
and then it's everybody else,
and then it's six other teams.
Yeah, but
that want to sell themselves on the idea that if we get in there, we can give one of those teams a run, or maybe one gets upset in the first round.
Yeah,
and they sell themselves on the idea this might be the best chance to make a cup run for some of those squads. You can use that to your advantage, hopefully.
Yeah, well, you do hope, and then even out west, it's to me it's Colorado, Dallas, and a step down to Minnesota, and then everybody else. Like, I think it's the same kind of thing. Like Minnesota, Vegas, I think are probably in that same realm, and then everybody else out west too. I really do think that this is there are teams that are separated themselves from everybody else in my mind. I think I would be surprised if the Stanley Cup final does not include either Colorado or Dallas out west, or either Tampa or Carolina in the East. I would be surprised if another team got in.
Bundy, I guess the question is, we talked about this on Wednesday. If the Flyers get into, like, deep conversations around Risto, regardless of whether he's moved, a guy like Nick Seeler could also be a guy that teams are interested in.
Right.
Do you see any scenario where they're able to make a move for Risto and then they get a good offer for Seeler and they say, yeah, you know what, like, might not want to take two vets off the blue line, but if they don't see him as, like, a long-term
you can get a Sealer back in the offseason.
A Sealer quality.
Yeah, you can
guy,
get that. Yeah. You can get that guy back. And in Bristol, you have to go back out and shop for it, or hopefully somebody in your minor league system can come and seize that spot.
Yeah,
which would be ideal. But I mean, I don't know who's close enough yet to do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that would be, they'd be hesitant to do that. If you could unload 2 guys and get some pieces back that you like, I think they'd be open to doing that.
And who are the other guys that we, Tippett apparently is getting interest. I don't see that being a deadline deal.
No, it's not. I would be surprised if Owen Tippett got moved at the deadline. I think if you're moving Owen Tippett, you're moving him in the off season.
Billy from South Philly's praying over there.
Yeah. Billy from South Philly doesn't particularly love him. The one thing I kind of wanted to get into as we're talking about the trade talk, because I think it got a lot of people fired up.
Andrew Fawcett down in Texas.
Yeah.
Says, thank you for the super chat. Says, Risto to Buffalo for a playoff run would be ironic.
It would be ironic.
That would be hilarious.
Send them back to Buffalo. The one I wanted to talk about is because a lot of people went nuts with this. And again, I think context is needed. Mm-hmm. But on the broadcast the other night, Sean McDonough said that Keith Jones said we're not looking to get younger, and everybody had a meltdown about that.
Not necessarily trying to get younger. It's kind of like what the wording you use, right?
Right. So when you look at context in that, because first of all, the team is one of the youngest teams in the NHL already. And what he means by that is we're not looking to trade away the Konechny's of the world, right, or the Sanheims of the world to get prospects who are going to be 5 years away.
Right.
Like that, or draft picks. That's what he means by that. It's not that we're not selling, right? It's not that we're looking for old players. It's that we're not going to trade guys that are in their prime now for future that's 5 years away. Like they feel like they are closer than 5 years away. And so that's what he means by that. So
I think there's also a realization there that if they were going to make those moves, they're 2 years too late on it.
The problem is, though, Anthony, that's been the same core. We've talked about this
I get it.
And over and over again.
No, but
so at some point you got to say, what are we doing here?
Well, that's that. So in other words, that doesn't mean that they're not tradable commodities, right? But they are not trading them and looking to get prospects and draft picks for them. If you're going to trade a Travis Konechny or a Travis Sanheim, which I do not think they're going to do.
Right. I don't think it's happening.
Let me just put it out there. I don't think they're going to do that. But if you are going to trade that type of player, you are looking for some help immediately. They're looking for something to make the team better right now, not something to make the team better 5 years.
That would be like try to trade a Konechny or a Sanheim to try to get a center back.
Right.
That would be the way that it would make sense.
That's a different
because they want to double down on the glut of wings they have, the young wings, and they realize that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Right. So that's the context behind what Jonesy said, and not necessarily that we're past trading for prospects. Like that's not exactly what it was, how it was meant. Should McDonough have given a little bit more perspective to that? I think so, but
it's
when you're the play-by-play guy in the middle, it's kind of hard to give all that detail. But that's kind of what it was. So I think that there was a little bit of unnecessary overreaction.
I mean, listen,
to the comment.
The thing that I think is fair to be critical of, and like this is the same thing that's been said a bunch of times, is like I do think that there was a time to do those moves. I think it was the first year that Danny and Jonesy were together. Those were the times that you trade away the Konechny's instead of extending. Those are the times that you trade away potentially like a Tippett at the very beginning of it. There was the attempt to trade Travis Sanheim, but Torrey Krug wouldn't waive the no move.
Yeah.
So and listen, they did. They moved Hayes. They managed to move Provorov. Like they did make some wholesale changes. I think that when you're in year 3 of this, it would be a very difficult sell to say, yeah, we're going to move the highest talent guys and established vets on the team for prospects and picks, and almost effectively like start over.
That's basically right. That's
because but you're 3 years into it. I don't know how you could. Honestly, where I'm at on this whole thing and rebuilds and everything. I think if they tried to execute that plan now, somebody's head would either have to roll, or you would have to have like an almost unprecedented like moment of honesty with your fan base. Not to the level of like the Rangers putting out a letter, but you almost have to say, listen, we tried to do this status quo for 2 years. We thought that we could retool it. we're now realizing we don't have enough top end. We have to kind of pull this thing back. You'd almost have to do that as an organization if you were to trade away a Konechny and a Sanheim now and only get back picks and players. I just don't see it.
What about a Couturier?
That's an interesting thing, Bundy.
You've got to have to think his name is mentioned to some capacity somewhere. And the Flyers would obviously have to eat a lot of salary.
Yeah,
but is that a move that Danny can go to in the next few days and say, hey, listen, we've got a move for you to a contender? What do you think? I don't know that. I'm just speculating it. And I think if they could do that, they'd want to do it.
I think you're looking at Couturier. It's probably are looking at more in the offseason.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if it was now. Although I see what you're thinking. Like a contender might look and say, "Oh, geez, we can get a fourth line center."
Right.
That's really good at faceoffs.
Yeah,
and,
good defensively.
Yeah, and he's a leadership type and that kind of thing. Like, yeah, we can add that, and the Flyers are willing to eat 50% of his contract for 4 years. Yeah, let's go get that player.
Yeah.
I still think, again, you probably have a better chance of moving that to a team in the offseason that has a lot of space in their cap that doesn't plan on competing,
right,
and doesn't mind taking on that salary.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that ultimately that's more likely than here at the deadline. But I don't think that I think you have a smart idea there, right, to try and look at it that way. So that's kind of how that works with Coots. But yeah, I think that ultimately they're going to have to, when we talk about changes, we discussed this before, the story I wrote earlier about how after the loss to Washington, like, you're probably missing the playoffs for the sixth straight year. There can't be a seventh, right? And so, like, this is when this is the end of the runway in my mind for this current front office. What I mean by end of the runway is it's now the time to take the plane off.
Right.
Yeah, you've been given the 3 years. You've been given the time to get out from under the mess that the previous regime left you, and Danny's done a fine enough job doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But now is when you're going to be judged, as to how good of a job you do as a general manager. Fair or not, this is it. This is where it comes in, and so I think that starts with things like we have to make this team has to look different next year. We're not moving Konechny. We're not moving Sanheim. Well, what are we moving that is different, that makes us look different? And I think moving off of Sean Couturier has to be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I want to throw a crazy idea out to you. All right? And this is going to sound insane, but it was reported out in Vancouver that Tocchet and Elias Pettersson had a really long chat in Milan. Now, in a lot of ways, when Tocchet left, and even last year, there was the drama between Pettersson and JT Miller. A lot of people thought that Tocchet was more attached to Miller than he was to Pettersson. I'm not saying it's a great idea. I'm not saying it's something that the Flyers should 100% be in on. But if those two are on the same page, if Tocchet and Pettersson, that conversation maybe follows, if they have kind of mended fences, and this team desperately needs a center, and Pettersson hasn't performed particularly well for Vancouver, they might be looking to move off of a contract. I'm not saying it's part of a Couturier move, but like in terms of cap hit, it sort of makes some sense. Could you envision a scenario where the Flyers and the Canucks have a conversation about Pettersson coming this way?
Sure.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, if he's just available, but there's a lot of things that go into that because of his salary.
Yeah.
Like, he's not earning that number that they gave him. The year he signed it, he was, but now he's not. So how do you get around that? Vancouver's going to want whoever takes him to take the whole salary.
That's why
they're not going to want to eat anything.
Yeah, but if that's the case, and just to clarify now before you give your response, if somebody's willing to take the entirety of Peterson's salary,
yes,
Vancouver's getting nothing.
Right,
I shouldn't say nothing, but they're getting much less for him.
Then the Flyers, who have all this money freed up for 2026 for a free agent class that will not come to fruition, they should 100% be in on a conversation and seeing what can be done there.
And they might be.
I'm just saying, like, that to me, like, I like the idea of what Pettersson was at his peak. I don't know if he'll ever get back to that, right? the results haven't exactly given you the indication that they will.
Well, it could be a
but
change of scenery.
Correct.
Though,
for
right?
a team that desperately needs a center, he could maybe be a distressed asset. Like they're.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting conversation to have if those guys are on the same page. If
Yeah,
not,
I mean, it's certainly an interesting conversation. I don't know if that's the only thing with that is, Russ, is that in a lot of ways, that's crossing your fingers and hoping.
Mm-hmm.
As far as and less of we think we can do other stuff. We might have a better chance of getting another center via trade.
Yeah.
And we
I don't mean this for a deadline.
No. I'm with you. That this would not be a deadline. This would be an off-season thing for sure. I just wonder if are you willing? I guess the question back to you is: are you willing to turn this into cross your fingers and hope it works? And if it doesn't, well, then we're screwed. Or
I think
would you want to be more measured with the approach that you're going to go and potentially go after a guy like Bundy mentioned earlier? Like what if Austin Matthews suddenly becomes available?
2020.
Well, he's got 2 years left, but I think that he's going to look to get out of there sooner than that.
Yeah, after that article that Cox wrote about him, I'd be gone too.
Yeah. I don't know if they would want to part with the assets that it would require to get him.
You have to, though.
I don't disagree, but I'm saying I don't know if this team
and if there's an organization that has assets,
yeah.
The Flyers do.
However, Quinn Hughes had the remainder of this year and next year, so you're looking at a 1.5-year move. They weren't willing to make that move. Matthews has 2 years beyond this one left, right?
Yeah.
There's certainly no guarantee that he would stay. So, like, if you weren't willing to move it for Hughes, who I would say on the whole is a different level entirely, like top 3 defenseman, top 2 defenseman in the league, would you then turn around and make that move for Matthews? I don't know. Maybe they would. And like, maybe.
Well, it depends. What is most important? A number 1 center, or I love number 1 defense. I'm not trying to diminish. I'm not trying to diminish Quinn Hughes by any stretch by what I'm about to say. But if you at least have a solid group of defensemen, you'd prefer to have the number 1 center.
Yes.
Right? So, yes, you're willing to make that move for Austin Matthews.
I definitely think that they'll test the waters on it. Yeah, I mean,
sure.
Everybody's going to be testing the waters.
But he won't be alone.
You know what? Here's the other thing, too. Just on the Pettersson thing and, the contract and all that. We always say the cap is going up, cap's going up. And I'm always the one who says just because you have the money doesn't mean you light it on fire.
Right.
I don't know. Like, if you look at the free agent market, if you look at the trade market, look at all of that. And if Pettersson, if it isn't going to cost you much in terms of assets because you're just going to eat the contract, at worst, he's a 2C, right? And then you still have all of your assets to go after a potential 1C. I'm just throwing it out there. Again, I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying, it's certainly an interesting conversation, Yeah.
I don't think it's a crazy suggestion. I just think that it's a lot more complicated than maybe it seems on the surface.
Sure.
That's all.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, we got about 10 minutes left here, guys.
Why don't you remind the people where we're at?
We are at Chickies and Pete's, South Philadelphia, the hallmark of this fine operation, right? They have more than 17 locations around the Philadelphia vicinity. And where are we at next week?
I don't know.
You have the list. Look it up while I tell everybody what the wonderful things about Chickies and Pete's. You definitely want to go to Chickies and Pete's like a lot of Flyers fans have today. Like, this place is packed right now, and it is full of people in Flyers gear.
Yeah, Flyer gear.
All Flyers gear, which is great. Both bars are pretty full.
Glassboro?
Almost every seat is full. We have a big group of Flyers fans here. Great place to go before a game. It's also a great place to hang out if you just want to watch the game on TV. You don't have tickets to the game. Come sit down at Chickies and Pete's, try their great food here, watch the Flyers game. And there's also 2 Chickies and Pete's locations inside the arena, the Xfinity Mobile Arena.
That is correct.
One is in the East Food Hall, and then the second one is behind the southeast entrance, which is behind Section 103. Yeah. So
we're in Glassboro next week.
We're in Glassboro.
Glassboro,
New Jersey. Great location down there. So we'll be down in Glassboro on Wednesday.
The week after that, I think we're a little bit TBD because you and I are both out of town.
Yeah, that one's getting moved. We just don't know where yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's not going to be on Wednesday.
Good. Okay.
Yes, that will be.
So Glassboro, New Jersey, this upcoming Wednesday.
Yes,
come on out,
and then we'll let you know on the following week. But yeah, Chickies and Pete's, definitely check them out. And if you don't know about their menu, go to chickiesandpete's.com. Find out all about the great stuff that you can get here at Chickies and Pete's.
Yeah, here, let me read off the list. We're in Glassboro. Then the 11th is the one that we're probably going to move. The following week, we're in Northeast Philly, then Parks Casino, Marlton, Drexel Hill. We're going to wrap up the season in Warrington.
Oh, okay. There you
If
go.
you didn't know. Now you know.
Now you know. You didn't know,
Andy.
now you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It is kind of crazy to think, like, the season it's starting to
Winding
wind down.
Feels like 2 weeks ago, the Flyers are playing Florida.
Yeah.
I was down at the opener.
Yep.
Because I was doing Ice Wars. I felt like it was 2 weeks ago.
It's crazy. It
It's
really
insane.
is. I have to say, though, I really do like the break. I liked the Four Nations break last year.
Yeah.
I really
Well,
like
that
the
was
Olympic.
that was
I-
much
If you got
shorter.
little kids, you love it. Yeah.
I do, yeah. Like it was nice to be able to kind of have a little bit of a take your breath kind of thing. So anyway, I guess we can focus on a couple of other things. We talked about the biggest trade targets out there, right? We talked about the Ristos of the world, potential of a Sealer getting moved. Tippett, we seem to think is going to be an off-season sort of potential look. Bobby Brink's name is the one, Ant, that I feel like it's been there all season. There's been that thought that of all the guys, all the wingers, you have Martone, coming. You have potentially Alex Bump getting a look at some point this season. Brink doesn't have a contract that's going to be difficult to move. He's a good player. I like him. I think a lot of people do. But is he a guy that you think is more likely to be moved at the deadline? Do you think it's a greater than zero chance?
At the deadline, again, a deadline, I don't think it's a deadline because I don't look at Bobby Brink as a deadline needle mover for a contender.
Okay.
But I look at Bobby Brink as a guy who other teams would like to add to their lineup going forward. So I look at Bobby Brink as an off-season trade. Again, we keep talking about this. There's going to be two spots in this lineup that in the top 9 that have to change.
Yep.
That absolutely have to change because of Tyson Forster and Porter Martone, right? So two guys absolutely in the current top 9 wingers has to come out.
Yep.
And the one that makes the most sense is Bobby Brink. He's the one. If we had to say of the 6 wingers that are in the top 9 currently, who's the one that is most likely to lose a job to one of those two guys? To me, it has to be him. And that's why I would be a little bit more surprised if it was deadline. I would certainly not be surprised at all if it was an off-season transaction. Just because there's no again, I have a harder time coming up with the second guy. We talk about Owen Tippett. That's a possibility, but I'm not 100% certain that that's the guy. But if you ask me to say, let's look at those 6 wingers, who's the most likely to not be here for opening night 2026 in October, it's got to be Bobby Brink. It's got to be.
I know that there have been injury issues, and I know the team is really high on him. But if you're looking to make that move for a 1C or for a top defenseman, do the Flyers, in the midst of looking at this glut, and if, say, they try to trade a Tippett in the offseason and there are no suitors, do they potentially look at including a Forster in a trade package for a guy that is a really high-end player at one of their biggest positions of need?
You would have to be a star quality player.
Yeah.
That's the level it has to be. You would have to go above and beyond. It would have to be top of the league kind of player.
Yeah.
Then yes, but only in that case. You're not looking to move Forster for. I know everybody wants to trade for what's the name from St.
Thomas.
Louis? Yeah,
Thomas or Kyrou?
Yeah, well, Thomas more.
Robert Thomas.
Robert Thomas.
Yeah.
Everybody's on this Robert Thomas bandwagon, right?
I don't get it.
Which I don't. A good player, really good player. Not the player that you are willing to give up a lot of assets for, in my mind.
Yeah.
If it's that level of player, you're not moving Tyson Forster. You're not.
Okay.
But if it's Austin Matthews,
Well, then of course.
then you are.
Yeah.
Right. But that's
why I kind of wonder.
that's the
I don't
difference.
think they would actively look to move Forster, but I think that if you're deep in negotiations and it's Martone or Forster, I don't know which way they go. And I don't know.
Well, you're probably holding on to Martone just because.
Yeah. But that's what I'm
He's
saying.
got so much promise,
For
right?
as much as we look at it as these guys all being established and, you're not wanting to move any of them, I think the right guy becomes available in a trade and all bets are off at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, it's good.
it's an interesting thing. By the way, have you heard anything positive coming out of Junior around Lachenko or Nesbitt of late?
Nesbitt had a great shootout goal the other night. Did you
I know.
see that?
I read Luchenko's got like 13 points in his last 8 games.
Yeah.
Something
So
like that.
I'm just wondering, like,
He's still not shooting enough. I mean, just if we're gonna be flat out honest,
hockey Ben Simmons.
like he's just not shooting the puck enough.
Mhm.
And that look, he's still young, right? That could grow into his game. But I mean, if it's something that you're talking about for 2 years, like at some point he's going to show it. At some point he's got to show it.
He's got 26 points in 27 games since being moved to Brantford.
Yeah, but it's been of late. He's been better. Like it's in the last 8.
His last 5 games, he's got 5 assists in 5 games. He's got 13 points in his last 10.
Yeah,
2 goals, 11 assists.
yeah, just not shooting enough.
He's not shooting enough.
Yeah, but he obviously shows the ability to be a playmaker, which is a good thing, right? But he definitely needs to shoot the puck more. And Nesbitt, like I said, there was I saw a video of a really nifty shootout goal that he scored the other night.
He's got 6 goals in his last 10 games.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I know that people are torn on him too. I
like
think
Nesbitt.
I think first of all, I think they're both going to play in the NHL.
Uh-huh.
They're both going to play in the NHL. The question is where.
Yeah.
And that's to be determined going forward.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of where they're at with those guys. Usually, I like to try and do a catch up on all the prospects after the trade deadline.
Yep.
Because that way you know who they moved and who they didn't move. You start to have an idea of, well, why wasn't that guy included, right? Like, okay, maybe there's something there that we haven't looked into, we haven't talked about. So I'll probably do a deeper dive into the prospects after next Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bundy, what are you looking forward to in this next week or so? Like, let me put you in this headspace before we sign off. The guys that we mentioned that could potentially be moved, or they hear their names in those rumors, what do those guys need to do to kind of silence that external noise over the next week?
Just stay married to your game. Just stay in the moment. Don't think about anything else. Play your game for your team, and don't worry about the noise on the outside. Whatever's going to happen, it's out of your control anyway.
Is there anything that the other guys in the locker room can do to help those guys to not be as focused on it?
Yeah, just be a good teammate,
Mm-hmm.
Just give them a pat on the back. Let them know, like, you're here with us. We got your back. Hopefully nothing happens.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just rumors. You talk to guys, through it. So I've been on both sides of it where I've helped guys that have heard it or were nervous at the deadline, and I've been a guy that was nervous at the deadline myself. So, then I wasn't expecting to get traded. I finally got traded, but it didn't bother me at all. You just got to keep playing. That's what your job is. You have a day job and a night job, whatever it is. If you have a game day or a game at night, that's your responsibilities to your team that you're playing for. That's it.
One last thing I have for you guys is obviously Vladar's back in net tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But next week, coming up, the games are a little bit spread out. Do you think they stick with Vladar for a run of games here?
They might.
It's at Toronto on Monday, then 2 days off in Utah here, and then 1 day off and then in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then another day off in the Rangers. I don't think he's going to play all 4 of those, or all 5 of those games, including today. But I do think he plays 4 out of 5, and I would bet.
How many is it until the deadline? Deadline's next Friday.
3.
So does that include today?
Includes today.
Boston,
Toronto, Utah.
I'd play Erson both games leading up to the deadline, and then I'd give Edmonton a call. Erson goes out and has 2 strong. He can't be worse than Jari. You see Jari get yanked the other day?
He got smoked again.
Goodness
It's
gracious.
amazing to me that team cannot find a goalie.
No, nobody.
It's unbelievable.
If they even had replacement level goalie,
they'd be a Stanley Cup team.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
And probably the favorite by far.
Yeah.
And yet, they did the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Skinner for Jari. I mean, what a disaster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
no better way to piss off your star in Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I think Erson will get 1 game. But I think out of that stretch, you're probably seeing Vladar 4 out of 5.
Okay.
It's my guess.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think that's a possibility.
I just don't know which one, but
Yeah.
I think you're going to see he'll get 1.
All right, well, guys, great conversation today.
Yeah.
We're conversation doesn't end on a Saturday. Now, if you're listening after the fact in the podcast feed, you get this show. But those of you who are watching live, we are about to run down the road. Anthony and I are going to sprint from here. Bundy does not have to sprint.
I hear we may have a couple special guests pregame.
I don't know anything about it, so that's
I literally just I've been sitting here texting about it.
Good God. Okay, well, anybody of note?
Of note. Yeah.
Well, if it is of note, then you should tell people.
They're not 100% confirmed, so I don't want to say anything yet.
All right, so according to Anthony, we may or may not have some people. We start at 2:30 over at Xfinity Mobile Arena for the Press Row Show.
1 hour.
You can find that over on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Big thank you to everybody who tuned in. Don't forget, you can find the show also in the podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. For Bundy, for Ant, I'm Russ. Thanks for checking out Snow the Goalie here at Chickie's and Pete's in South Philly. We'll talk to each and every one of you